Okay, so this is the beginning of the indigo blue nitwit basket. So I've got 32 stakes in there, and I'm going to start by, I've already got them all the way inserted, and what I do to start is I put a dyed, in this case blue, at 4 points, and then it's 8 in each section for 32. And you alternate them between the blue and the white. So then what I want to do is I want this to swell up a little bit so it doesn't move. So I'm going to spray it. You don't want to wet your stakes, because if you do, they won't go in there. So put them in dry and then spray them. Okay? So I've got a relatively long piece of number 3 to twine the base with, and actually I think I'm going to kind of make it short because I want to show you what happens when you run out of a piece. Okay, so you never do it all the way even because you don't want to add in at the same time. So I'm going to take this and make a loop. It really doesn't matter where you start. Okay, so then I'm going to twine. Twining is in front of one, behind one. I'm always using I've got 2 coming out at me, and I'm always making the stroke with the one that's the furthest from the direction that I'm going. I'm right-handed, so I'm weaving clockwise, so that means the one that's furthest to the left is the one that I'm going to twine with. In front of one, behind one. Okay? In front of one, behind one. And I'm going to do this for 2 rows, and then I'm going to lock it in. So I'm going to bore you with this so I can show you how I lock it in. And also I want to show you what I do if I don't have a long enough weaver. I know some people are, you have to have a long weaver. No, you don't. There's always an exception to the rule. And at this point, because I am showing you this, I am pushing the weaver up, but I usually never do that. I always want to be pulling it down because I've got more leverage that way. But because I'm limited on space, I'm not going to do that. So, once again, we're going to do 2 rows of this. Bear with me, I know this is the boring part. And when I make the stroke, I always pull just a little bit. That's what tightens it up. And I pull down on it, not up, because then it'll bust your stake. Pull down. Pull down. Okay, so I'm coming up on the 2nd row. I do not step up. You can do that if you want, but I do not. And you can see that this one guy is getting short. So I'm going to leave it all the way out as far as I possibly can, and that's about it. So I've got that one little piece hanging out there. That's my dog tail. And if you've ever been in a class with me, you know about the dog tail method. So, because I don't need this long piece, I'm going to cut it in half. So I'm going to lift the dogtail up and stick in the thermometer. Okay? Let me show it to you again. I'm going to lift the dogtail up and stick in the thermometer. Okay? And then you just keep going, and we'll trim that up later. So I want to show you how I lock this in. Okay, so what I want to show you is how to tuck these in here. And I'm coming back to it, so I'm getting it a little wet. They need to be wet and supple. And you notice you've got 2 coming out at you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up that stroke from the previous row, lift it up, and then bring that up underneath there. Let's see if I can get this a little closer so you can see it. Let's try this. So what I want to do is tuck that underneath there and then pull it down. Let's try it again. So I'm going to lift that up, that stroke from the previous row, and then take that in there underneath it. And pull it through. So, and then we'll trim these guys up later. So because I've let this sit, I'm going to spray it just a little bit because I'm going to start going up. Now the important thing to know on this basket is it doesn't have a lot of flare. And if you want your basket to, your handle to fit on your basket when you get done, you need to make sure that it's pretty straight up and down. So let me show you another basket so you get that idea. If you take a look at this, you'll see that there's not a lot of flare on this basket from the base to the top, and we'll end up putting this handle in early. But if you flare it out, that handle is not going to fit. Okay, so just kind of a heads up word to the wise. So I'm going to start here just by doing one row of the weaving on the bottom, and then so I don't totally bore you, wait till we get to the next step. So, but when I'm starting, I'm always using gravity. So I'll like pull this up on, and I'm going to start on top of one of the dyed ones. Doesn't matter which one. Okay. And then what I do is I put a little clip on it. Now this is just over and under, and like I said, this has been sitting, so it needs a little bit more moisture in it. So I'm going to spray it just a little bit. I never want things sopping, and usually I tell people don't wet the ribs. But, so as I go over to hold this down, what I'll use is just some little clips. And I always start on top of a steak. Always, always, always on top of the steak. And I'm shaping with my left hand and weaving with my right. And once I get this going the way I want, I'm a lap weaver, so I'll end up, weaving in my lap more. But right now, I need to get those steaks going up. So you can see that I'm using the table to kind of get those going in the direction that I want. Okay, so I'm coming up here to the end. And if it's holding good, you don't have to put those on there. And in this case it is, for me, for some reason. So what I want to show you is this. This is start and stop weaving, which means every row begins and ends, start and stop. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to count 4 back from the one that I started with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to go past my beginning and end here. Now the reason for that is that you do not want the beginning of a row to show or the end. So I'm going to take this out here. That covers the beginning, and then I continue on. You can see I'm bleeding on my basket, and that ends it. Okay, and so I'll clip that to hold it, and then what I'll do is I'll make like a quarter turn and I'll put the next row on, and then I'll start holding that down. It usually takes about 3 rows before it's manageable. Our next step here is we've got our 3 rows in, and so what we're going to do is we're going to do some tie-dyed overlay on our natural stakes. So I want all that overlay to show, so I'm going to put it down here. And that's the thing with tie-dye, you never know where you're going to get the color, but so I'm going to go all the way around here and put those in, and then I'm going to just do 1 row of black, and then we're going to do our 1 inch. So this is a pretty easy basket to weave up. The only thing that you have to remember is you don't want to flare out much on it. And we'll get to this, but one of the things that I do is I put in my handle early so that I'm weaving around it and not trying to shove it down in a weave. Makes it a lot easier, and then you're guaranteed your shape, and you're guaranteed that your handle's going to fit. Always a good thing. So once again, I'm trying to take the pretty parts, and you do this when you've got about 3 rows up, because if you wait much longer than that, once again, it can be a pain. So we're all about easy weaving. Maybe that's what we should call it, Jill's easy weaving. Okay, so that's going to happen, and then we're going to do 1 row of black here. And that's just pretty basic over and under stuff. So I'm going to not videotape that part, and then we'll talk about getting the tape on, the decorative tape, and weaving that 1 inch row.